My husband handed me divorce papers at my baby shower, but my announcement crushed him. I should have known something was wrong when Michael kissed me that morning. Not because he kissed me, but because of how he kissed me. It was soft, almost tender, his hand lingering on my cheek for just a moment longer than necessary. His blue eyes held mine with an intensity one hadn't seen in months. "I'll see you at the shower," he'd said, his thumb tracing my jawline. "I promise I'll be there." "You better be," I teased, placing his hand on my swollen belly. "Your daughter and I have been looking forward to this." He'd smiled then. That devastating smile that had made me fall in love with him 8 years ago. But now, standing in the country club with divorce papers scattered at my feet, I realized what that smile actually was. Goodbye. He'd been saying goodbye. Let me back up. Let me tell you how I got here, standing in front of 50 people, 7 months pregnant, watching my entire life implode in real time. Because this story, it doesn't start at the baby shower. It starts 3 months earlier, on a Tuesday night that seemed perfectly ordinary. If you want to see how this ends, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. 3 months earlier, I was folding Michael's shirts when I found the receipt. It was stupid, really. A tiny piece of paper that had somehow survived the wash cycle, tucked into the pocket of his navy suit pants. I almost threw it away without looking. Almost. But something made me unfold it. Cartier. $12,500. My hands froze. $12,500. At Cartier. For a moment, my brain tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a business expense? A gift for a client? Michael worked at one of Chicago's most prestigious law firms, Henderson and Cross, where expensive gestures were just part of the job. Except Michael didn't have access to that kind of money without me knowing. We had a joint account. We made financial decisions together. We just had a conversation 2 weeks ago about cutting back on expenses because of the baby. I sat down on the edge of our bed, the receipt trembling in my hand. The bedroom door opened. Michael walked in, loosening his tie, his jacket already slung over his arm. "Hey, babe, what's for dinner?" "I'm starving." I held up the receipt. The change in his expression was instantaneous. His easy smile vanished, replaced by something guarded, defensive. "Where did you get that?" "Your pants pocket." "Michael, what is this?" He sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. "It's not what you think." "I'm not thinking anything yet." "I'm asking." "It's a watch. For the Peterson case. I told you about this. The senior partner wanted something special for the client after we won the settlement." $12,000 special? "The firm reimbursed me, It's already been processed." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly. Because the alternative, the thing my gut was screaming at me, was too terrible to consider. "Can I see the reimbursement?" His jaw tightened. "Are you seriously questioning me right now?" "I'm asking to see a reimbursement statement for $12,000. That's not unreasonable." "It's at the office. In my files." He walked past me to the closet, started changing out of his work clothes. "I can't believe you're making this into a thing. You know how hard I've been working. You know the kind of pressure I'm under. And now I come home, exhausted, and you're interrogating me like I'm some kind of criminal." The thing about gaslighting is that it's incredibly effective, especially when it comes from someone you love, someone you trust. I felt myself shrinking, doubting. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe pregnancy hormones were making me paranoid. "I'm sorry," I heard myself say. "You're right. We talked about being careful with money, and I saw the receipt and I panicked." Michael pulled me into his arms. I know you're stressed, but you have to trust me, okay? I'm taking care of us. I'm taking care of our family." I nodded against his chest, but I didn't throw away the receipt. Hit that button if you've ever had a gut feeling that something was wrong. Over the next few weeks, I watched. I know how that sounds. like some paranoid, desperate housewife stalking her husband. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. The foundation of my marriage, the thing I'd built my entire adult life on, suddenly felt unstable. Michael started working later. Much later. He'd come home at 9, 10, sometimes 11 at night, reeking of expensive cologne that wasn't the one I'd bought him for Christmas. "New scent," he'd said when I asked. Tom from the office recommended it. His phone was always face down now. Always on silent. He'd take calls in his car, in the bathroom, anywhere but near me. "Client confidentiality," he'd explain. "You know I can't discuss cases at home." And the sex, or lack thereof, became another elephant in the room we both pretended not to see. "I'm exhausted, babe," he'd say, rolling away from me in bed. "Big case tomorrow." Or, "You're 7 months pregnant. I don't want to hurt the baby." Or, my personal favorite, "You're not really in the mood either, are you?" I wasn't stupid. I'd been with Michael for 8 years, married for 6. I knew what withdrawal looked like. I knew what emotional distance felt like. But knowing something and accepting it are two very different things. Rachel noticed at first. "You okay?" she asked one afternoon over coffee. Well, coffee for her, decaf for me. We were at our favorite cafe downtown, the one with the overstuffed chairs and the barista who knew our orders by heart. "I'm fine." "Why?" "Because you've been stirring that cup for 5 minutes and you haven't taken a single sip. And you've got that look." "What look?" "The look you had senior year when you found out Brad Whitmore was cheating on you with that girl from the volleyball team." I set down my spoon. "It's nothing."
Eminência.
"Really, Ratch? I'm just tired. Pregnancy is." "Don't." She reached across the table and grabbed my hand. "Don't lie to me. We've been best friends since freshman orientation. I know when you're lying." The tears came before I could stop them. Not dramatic sobs, just silent streams running down my cheeks while I sat there, frozen, humiliated by my own weakness. Hey. Rachel moved to the chair beside me, her arm around my shoulders. "What happened? What did he do?" "I don't know. That's the problem."
"I don't know anything."
"I just have this feeling that something's wrong, and every time I try to talk to him about it, he makes me feel crazy for asking." "Has he been acting different?" I nodded, wiping my eyes with a napkin.
"He's distant.
Always working late.
Protective of his phone."
And there was this receipt I found. I told her everything. The Cartier receipt. The late nights. The excuses. The way he looked at me sometimes, like I was a stranger he was obligated to tolerate. Rachel's face grew darker with every word. "That son of a bitch," she breathed when I finished. You know what this sounds like." "Don't say it." "I have to say it. This sounds like..." "I'm 7 months pregnant, Rachel." My voice broke. "I'm about to have his baby. Our baby." He wouldn't. He couldn't. But even as I said it, I didn't believe it. "You need to find out for sure," Rachel said firmly. "You need to know what you're dealing with. Because if he is cheating, and honey, I'm sorry, but it really sounds like he is, then you need to protect yourself. Financially, legally, emotionally."
"How?"
"How do I even do that?" "He's a lawyer. He knows every trick in the book." Rachel's eyes gleamed with something fierce and protective. "Then we get smarter. We fight smarter. And we make damn sure that if Michael Carter is playing you, he doesn't see you coming." Subscribe to see how I caught him. Because trust me, what I found was so much worse than an affair. The thing about suspecting your husband of cheating is that it turns you into someone you don't recognize. I became a detective. A spy in my own home. I checked the credit card statements when Michael was in the shower. I scrolled through his call logs when he left his phone on the kitchen counter. I even, and I'm not proud of this, checked the mileage on his car against the distance to his office. Nothing. I found absolutely nothing. Either Michael was innocent or he was very, very good at covering his tracks. "Maybe you're wrong," I told Rachel over the phone one night. "Michael was working late again."
"Shocker."
"Maybe I'm making something out of nothing." Your gut is telling you something's wrong, Em. Guts don't lie. But evidence does. Or rather, the lack of evidence. Then we need to look harder. 2 days later, Rachel showed up at my door with a laptop and a determined expression. "What are you doing here?" I asked, glancing nervously toward the driveway. Michael wouldn't be home for hours, but paranoia had become my new best friend. "We're going digital. If Michael's hiding something, it's not going to be in credit card statements or phone bills. It's going to be online, email, social media, cloud storage. I don't have his passwords." Rachel smiled. "Don't need them. You'd be amazed what you can find with the right software and a little patience." I should have said no. I should have told her this was crazy, that we were crossing lines that shouldn't be crossed. But I didn't, because I needed to know. The not knowing was killing me more than the truth ever could. We sat at my kitchen table, Rachel's fingers flying across the keyboard while I watched, my heart pounding. "Okay," she murmured. "Let's start with email recovery. If he deleted anything, there's usually a trail." "Rach, I don't know about this. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm violating his privacy for no reason?" She looked up at me, her green eyes serious. "And what if you're right? What if he's planning something? You're about to have a baby, Em. You need to know what you're walking into." She had a point. "Found something," Rachel said suddenly, her voice sharp. "What?" "Separate email account. Not the one you know about."
Look.
She turned the laptop toward me. The email address was innocuous enough, carterlaw2@gmail.com. But the content, subject, tonight.
Can't wait to see you.
Same place?
V.
My hands started shaking. "Open it," Rachel urged. I clicked. "Michael, tonight was incredible. I know we said we'd keep this professional, but I can't stop thinking about you. About us. I know the situation is complicated, but we'll figure it out. We always do. All my love, V." The date on the email was from last Tuesday. The Tuesday Michael said he was working on the Henderson merger until midnight. "Who the hell is V?" Rachel demanded. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. The words on the screen blurred as tears filled my eyes. "There's more," Rachel said quietly, scrolling. There are dozens of these. Going back months. Look at this one." She clicked on another email. Subject: "She doesn't suspect."
V.
"Emily's too caught up in baby preparations to notice anything. I think we're safe. Just a few more months and I'll be free. Then we can be together, properly. No more sneaking around. No more lies. I love you, Em." The room tilted. "That bastard," Rachel hissed. "That absolute bastard.
He's been planning this.
While you're carrying his child, he's been planning to leave you." I couldn't respond. My mind was white noise, static, a howling void where my thoughts should have been.
Talk to me.
"Print them," I heard myself say. My voice sounded strange.
Distant.
"Print all of them. Every single one." Rachel's eyes widened. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet, but I'm going to need evidence. If Michael wants to leave me, if he wants to destroy our family, then he's going to do it on my terms, not his." Don't skip ahead. What happens next will blow your mind. Over the next 3 weeks, I became someone else entirely. On the surface, I was still Emily Carter, devoted wife, excited mother-to-be, the woman who smiled at baby shower invitations and painted the nursery in soft shades of lavender. But underneath, I was planning, calculating, preparing for war. Rachel helped me copy every email, every text message we could recover from that secret account. We discovered that V was Vanessa Hartley, a 26-year-old junior associate at Michael's firm. Blonde, beautiful, ambitious. Of course. We found restaurant receipts that matched up with Michael's late nights at the office. Hotel charges that he'd carefully kept off our joint credit card. A whole shadow life that he'd been living while I was at home, growing our baby, believing in our future. But the emails revealed something else too. Something that made my blood run cold. Subject: the prenup.
V.
Talked to Jennifer Hayes today. She confirmed what I suspected. The prenup Emily signed is ironclad. If I file for divorce, she gets nothing beyond standard child support. The house, the investments, my partnership stake in the firm, it all stays with me. The timing is perfect. Once the baby's born and we establish paternity, I can file. She'll be too overwhelmed with a newborn to fight effectively. By the time she realizes what happened, it'll be too late. This will all be over soon, and we can start our real life together.
M.
I read that email 10 times before it fully sank in. Michael wasn't just leaving me. He was strategically leaving me. He'd been planning this for months, timing it perfectly to maximize his advantage and minimize my ability to fight back. And the prenup. God, the prenup. I'd signed it 6 years ago, 2 weeks before our wedding. Michael's father had insisted on it. Just a formality, they'd said. It protects both of you. I'd been so in love, so eager to prove I wasn't marrying Michael for his money, that I'd barely read it. I'd just signed where they told me to sign. What an idiot I'd been. This is calculated, Rachel said, staring at the printed emails spread across my dining room table. This is premeditated abandonment. He's been planning to destroy you. He doesn't know I know, I said quietly. That's my advantage. He thinks I'm clueless. He thinks I'll just accept whatever he hands me. So, what do? You need a lawyer. A good one. Someone who can fight this prenup. I shook my head slowly. A lawyer won't help. Not against Michael. He knows every family law attorney in Chicago. They're either his colleagues, his opponents, or his golf buddies. Anyone I hire, he'll have an angle on them. Then what? I looked at Rachel, and for the first time in weeks, I smiled. Not a happy smile. Something colder.
Sharper.
I make him think he's won. I let him serve me those papers. I let him play his hand. I don't understand. He wants to humiliate me publicly, make me seem like the unstable, emotional pregnant woman who can't handle her marriage ending. He wants everyone to see him as the victim of a bad marriage, the man bravely choosing his happiness. So I let him have his moment, and then I take it away. Rachel leaned forward. What are you talking about? I pulled out a folder I'd been keeping hidden in my closet. Inside were documents I'd spent the last 2 weeks gathering. Bank statements, property records, communications I'd copied from Michael's office computer when I'd visited him at work. And one more thing. The thing that was going to change everything. Remember how I said I couldn't find anything concrete about the affair?
I said.
That's because I was looking in the wrong place. What do you mean? Michael's been embezzling from the firm. Rachel's jaw dropped. What? It's subtle. Very subtle. Small transfers over the course of 2 years, moving money from client trust accounts into offshore holdings. Nothing big enough to trigger audits, but significant over time. I'd guess he's taken close to $2 million. How did you? I used to work in forensic accounting, remember? Before I met Michael, before he convinced me to take a step back from the corporate grind and focus on building our life together. The bitterness in my voice was acidic. I know how to read financial statements, and I know how to recognize fraud when I see it. Rachel stared at me like she'd never seen me before. If this is true, if you report this, Michael doesn't just lose me. He loses everything. His career, his reputation, his freedom. Henderson and Cross doesn't mess around with embezzlement. They'll crucify him. But why wait? Why not report it now? I smiled again. That cold, sharp smile. Because I want everyone to see. I want it to be public. I want him to stand there in front of our friends, our family, everyone who's ever looked up to him, and I want to watch his world burn. Click that like button if you think he deserves what's coming. The day of the baby shower dawned bright and clear. I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, applying makeup with careful precision. foundation to hide the dark circles under my eyes, blush to add color to my pale cheeks, lipstick, a soft pink that said happy mother-to-be, not woman about to detonate her husband's life. The dress Rachel had helped me pick out was perfect. Soft blue with delicate white lace, flowing gracefully over my pregnant belly. I looked radiant, glowing. Everything a woman at her baby shower should look like. I looked like someone who had no idea her marriage was about to implode.
Perfect.
My phone buzzed. A text from Michael. Running late. Meeting went long. Be there soon.
I stared at the message.
Once upon a time, I would have believed it. Would have felt disappointed, but understanding. Would have made excuses to the guests, apologized for his absence, defended him. Not anymore.
Norus.
We'll wait for you. I added a heart emoji. The kind of thing the old Emily would have done. Another text came through. This one from Rachel. You ready for this? As ready as I'll ever be. Remember, you're in control. You know what's coming. He doesn't. I know. I'm so proud of you, Em. What you're doing, it's brave as hell. I looked at myself in the mirror one more time. The woman staring back at me was both familiar and foreign. She looked soft, vulnerable, 7 months pregnant, and glowing with maternal joy. But her eyes were made of steel. Okay, baby girl, I whispered, touching my belly. Mommy's about to make sure you grow up with a father who faces consequences. Let's go. The Oak Valley Country Club looked like something out of a magazine. Rachel had outdone herself. Pink and gold balloons arched over the entrance. White roses, my favorite, overflowed from crystal vases. A 3-tiered cake stood proudly near the gift table, decorated with delicate sugar flowers and elegant script that read, "Welcome, baby Carter." 50 people filled the room. My mother, looking elegant and proud. My sister Jessica, who'd flown in from Seattle. Friends from college, neighbors, women from my book club. Michael's colleagues' wives, all dressed in designer labels and practice smiles. Even his mother, Patricia, was there, though she'd been avoiding eye contact with me all morning. That should have been my first clue something was wrong. Emily, you look absolutely radiant. A woman named Carolyn, wife of one of Michael's partners, air-kissed both my cheeks. This is just beautiful. You must be so excited. I am, I said, letting my hand rest on my belly. Just waiting for Michael to arrive and we can get started. Oh, he'll be here. Michael never misses an important event. She winked. That man adores you. If only she knew. I made my way through the room, accepting congratulations and compliments, playing my part flawlessly. Years of being Michael Carter's wife had taught me how to perform, how to smile when I wanted to scream, how to make small talk when my world was crumbling. You doing okay? Rachel appeared at my elbow, her voice low. You look a little pale.
I've fine.
Just ready for this to be over. He texted me 10 minutes ago. He's on his way. She squeezed my hand. Whatever happens in the next hour, remember, you're the one with the power here, not him. I nodded, but my heart was racing. This was it. After weeks of planning, of gathering evidence, of preparing for this exact moment, it was actually happening. My phone buzzed. Michael. Pulling into the parking lot. My stomach dropped. Not from fear. From anticipation.
Me. See you inside.
He's here, I told Rachel. Her eyes flashed. Then, let's give everyone a show they'll never forget. The room fell silent when Michael walked in. He looked perfect as always. Charcoal suit that probably cost $3,000. Burgundy tie. Hair styled with that effortless precision that seemed natural but required expensive products and careful maintenance. At 6'2" with broad shoulders and the kind of masculine beauty that made people stare, Michael commanded attention. He'd always loved that. Being the center of attention. Being admired. Today was about to become very different. Behind him walked a woman I'd never seen in person, though I'd spent hours staring at her photo online. Vanessa Hartley. She was younger than me, mid-20s, with long blonde hair, sharp cheekbones, and a body that hadn't carried a child. She wore a tight black dress that was entirely inappropriate for a baby shower. And she carried a briefcase. The briefcase Rachel and I knew would be coming. Because we'd read the emails. We knew the plan. Gasps rippled through the crowd. This wasn't normal. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. Michael's eyes found mine across the room. For a moment, just a moment, something flickered in them. Guilt? Regret? Then it was gone, replaced by cold determination.
He walked toward me.
Every eye in the room tracked his movement. The room had gone so silent, I could hear my own heartbeat thudding in my ears. "Emily," he said when he reached me.
His voice was flat.
Formal, like I was a client, not his wife of 6 years. "Michael." I stood slowly, awkwardly, my hand bracing my lower back. I let my voice shake just slightly, let my eyes widen with confusion. "I'm so glad you made it. We've been waiting to start."
He didn't respond.
Instead, he gestured to the blonde woman beside him. "This is Jennifer Hayes. She's an attorney with our firm." Jennifer, not Vanessa. My mind raced. They'd sent a different attorney to deliver the papers.
Smart.
Kept Vanessa out of it, at least publicly. Hello. I let confusion color my voice. "I'm sorry, I don't understand. Why would you bring an attorney to our baby shower?"
Perfect.
Play confused. Play innocent. Michael's jaw tightened. "Jennifer is here in a professional capacity." Professional? "Michael, what's going on?" The guests were whispering now. I could feel their eyes on us, sense the shift from celebration to something else. Something darker. This was off script. This wasn't how baby showers went. Jennifer opened her briefcase with a sharp snap that echoed through the silent room. She pulled out a manila folder, thick with documents. "Mrs. Carter," she said, her voice professionally detached, "I've been asked to deliver these to you on behalf of my client, Mr. Michael Carter." I didn't take the folder, just stared at it like I'd never seen legal documents before. "What is it?" My voice came out small.
Scared.
Michael's eyes met mine. And I saw it then, the satisfaction. The sense of control. He thought he was winning. Thought he was about to destroy me in front of everyone who mattered. "Divorce papers," he said.
Loud. Clear.
Making sure everyone heard. "I want a divorce, Emily. This marriage is over. Don't you dare scroll past without subscribing. This is where it gets good." The folder hit the floor. I'd let it slip from my fingers, watched it fall in slow motion, documents scattering across the polished wood. The words "dissolution of marriage" faced upward in bold, accusatory letters. "You're what?" I whispered.
Perfect.
"Sell it. Make them believe it. I'm divorcing you." Michael's voice was cold, clinical. "I should have done this months ago, but I wanted to wait. Didn't want to ruin your baby shower plans." A laugh nearly escaped my throat. He actually thought he was being kind, waiting until my baby shower to publicly destroy me. "Michael, I don't understand." I let my voice break. Let tears fill my eyes. Not hard to do, considering the rage burning beneath my carefully controlled exterior. "We're having a baby. Your baby. In 2 months. That changes nothing. Nothing." I raised my voice now. Let the emotion bleed through. "How can you say that? We've been married for 6 years. We've been planning this family, this life. A life I never wanted." His words cut through the room like a blade. "I've been unhappy for years, Emily. Years. But I stayed out of obligation. Out of some misguided sense of duty. But I'm done. I'm done pretending."
Gasps.
Someone's champagne flute shattered against the floor. My mother pushed through the crowd, her face flushed with fury. "Michael Patrick Carter, have you lost your goddamn mind? What kind of man does this to his pregnant wife?" "A man who's choosing his own happiness for once," Michael shot back. A man who's tired of being trapped in a marriage with a woman who's more interested in appearances than actually being a partner. Oh, that was Rich. Michael, who'd spent our entire marriage cultivating his image, accusing me of caring about appearances. But I bit my tongue. Let him dig deeper. You bastard, Rachel hissed, appearing at my side. You absolute coward. This is between me and Emily, Michael interrupted. He looked at me again. You have 30 days to respond to the petition. Everything you need to know is in those papers. Jennifer stepped forward. Mr. Carter will, of course, fulfill his legal obligations regarding child support once paternity is established. Paternity. My mother's voice cracked like a whip. You're questioning whether that's your child? I'm simply ensuring we follow proper legal protocols, Michael said smoothly. The room exploded. Voices overlapping, everyone talking at once. My sister was yelling. Rachel was cursing. Patricia, Michael's own mother, had her hand pressed to her mouth, looking horrified. And Michael just stood there, calm and collected, like he was watching a mildly interesting tennis match. He thought he'd won. Thought he'd broken me. Time to show him exactly how wrong he was. Okay. My voice cut through the chaos. Quiet but commanding. The room fell silent. Okay. Michael's brow furrowed slightly. Okay, what? I bent down slowly, awkwardly, because 7 months pregnant, and gathered the scattered papers. Every eye in the room watched as I collected them, stacked them neatly, and stood back up. You wanted to do this here, I said, my voice steady now. No more trembling. No more tears. You wanted to make an announcement at my baby shower. You wanted everyone to see you take control of your life. Emily. So, let's do it right. I turned to face the room full of stunned guests. Ladies, I know this isn't quite what you expected from today. I'm so sorry you had to witness that. But since we're making announcements... I paused, letting the tension build. I have one of my own. Michael's face went pale. What are you talking about? I smiled. Not the soft, gentle smile I'd been wearing all day. Something sharper. Colder. You see, I've known about your plan for weeks now, Michael. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? The late nights. The secret phone calls. The separate email account. His eyes widened. You've been spying on you? Invading your privacy? I laughed.
Yes.
Guilty as charged. But you know what I found? So much more than I expected. Jennifer, the attorney, stepped forward. Mrs. Carter, anything you say right now could be used against you in what? Divorce proceedings that he just publicly initiated. I raised an eyebrow. I think we're past discretion, don't you? I pulled out my phone. Opened the folder Rachel had helped me create. Photos, documents, emails, all backed up in multiple locations, all ready to be shared. Did everyone know that Michael has a girlfriend? I asked conversationally. Her name is Vanessa Hartley. She's a junior associate at Henderson and Cross. 26 years old. Beautiful. Ambitious. And apparently very good at helping my husband plan his exit strategy. The room erupted again. Michael's face went from pale to red. You have no right. Oh, but I do. Because see, while you were planning to divorce me at the most humiliating moment possible, while you were emailing your mistress about how she doesn't suspect anything, while you were calculating exactly how to screw me over with that prenup I stupidly signed, I was doing my homework. I swiped to the next screen on my phone. I used to work in forensic accounting. Did you forget that, Michael? Before you convinced me to give up my career and focus on our family, well, those skills don't just disappear. His face went white. Actually white. He knew. He knew what was coming. For the past 2 years, I continued, my voice carrying to every corner of the now silent room. Michael has been embezzling money from Henderson and Cross. Small amounts at first. Transfers from client trust accounts into offshore holdings. Nothing big enough to trigger immediate audits. But over time, we're talking about nearly $2 million. Jennifer's briefcase hit the floor. That's a lie, Michael said, but his voice cracked. You're making this up because you're angry. Am I? I turned my phone toward the room, showing the spreadsheets, the bank statements, the documented transfers. Because I have 2 years of evidence. Transaction records.
Dates.
Account numbers. Shell corporations registered in the Cayman Islands under your name. Would you like me to go through it line by line? Patricia, his mother, made us sound like a wounded animal. Emily, wait. Michael took a step toward me, his hand outstretched. I stepped back. Don't you dare come near me. You don't understand what you're doing. If you report this, if you make this public, your career is over? Your reputation is destroyed? You'll face criminal charges? I tilted my head. Yes, Michael. I understand perfectly. That's exactly what I'm doing. Think about the baby, he shouted. If I go to prison, how will I pay child support? How will I? How will you? The words exploded out of me. You were planning to abandon us anyway. You were going to file for divorce, use that prenup to leave me with nothing, and ride off into the sunset with your blonde mistress and your stolen millions. Don't you dare talk to me about our baby now. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. You wanted to humiliate me, I said quietly. You wanted to break me in front of everyone. Make me look like the unstable, emotional pregnant woman who couldn't handle her husband choosing happiness. I walked toward him.
Slow.
Deliberate. Every eye in the room following my movement. But here's what you didn't count on, Michael. You didn't count on me being smart enough to see through you. You didn't count on me having the skills to track your crimes. And you sure as hell didn't count on me having the courage to burn your life down when you tried to burn mine. I stopped directly in front of him, close enough to see the fear in his eyes, close enough to smell his expensive cologne mixed with the scent of panic. I called the Illinois State Bar Association this morning, I said softly. Sent them every piece of evidence I've collected. I also contacted the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. They're very interested in offshore accounts and embezzlement. And I spoke with the managing partners at Henderson and Cross. Turned out they were very grateful for the heads up. Emily, please. Oh, and one more thing. I smiled. Remember that life insurance policy you took out last year? The one with me as the beneficiary? Well, since you're about to be charged with multiple felonies, that policy is now frozen. And the prenup? Turns out it's void if either party commits fraud or criminal acts during the marriage. I checked with a very good lawyer. Not one from Chicago. I went out of state. Somewhere you have no connections. Michael's legs seemed to give out. He stumbled backward, catching himself against a table. The color had drained completely from his face. You've destroyed me, he whispered.
No. My voice was ice.
You destroyed yourself. I just made sure everyone got to watch. I turned back to the room full of stunned guests. 50 faces staring at me like they'd never seen me before. And maybe they hadn't. Maybe they'd only ever seen the version of Emily that Michael wanted them to see, soft, accommodating, controlled. I'm sorry you all had to witness this, I said. This wasn't how I wanted today to go. I actually did have an announcement planned. A happy one. I pulled out an envelope from my clutch. My hands were shaking now, not from fear, but from adrenaline. From the rush of finally letting the truth out. We're having a girl, I said, my voice cracking with genuine emotion. I found out last week. A healthy, beautiful baby girl. And I was going to share that news today, surrounded by people who love me and support me. Tears streamed down my face now. Real ones. Not calculated, not performed. Raw grief for the life I'd thought I was building. For the family that was never real. For the man I'd loved who'd turned into a monster I didn't recognize. Instead, I had to watch my husband try to destroy me in the cruelest way possible.
But you know what?
I wiped my eyes, straightening my shoulders. My daughter deserves better than a father who would do this. She deserves better than a man who steals, who lies, who abandons his family when it's convenient. I looked at Michael one last time. You wanted to leave us?
Fine.
You're leaving. But not on your terms. Never on your terms again. Hit that subscribe button right now. This story is far from over. The next 72 hours were a blur. Michael was arrested on Tuesday morning. Federal agents showed up at Henderson and Cross at 9 a.m., right in the middle of a partners' meeting. According to Rachel, who'd heard it from someone who'd heard it from someone else, they'd walked him out in handcuffs in front of the entire office. The news spread through Chicago's legal community like wildfire. Michael Carter, Golden Boy attorney, rising star at one of the city's most prestigious firms, arrested for embezzlement and wire fraud. The media picked it up by Tuesday afternoon. Not because of the crime, white-collar criminals were a dime a dozen in Chicago, but because of the circumstances. Attorney serves divorce papers at baby shower. Wife exposes embezzlement scheme. Pregnant woman's revenge. How Emily Carter took down her cheating husband. Baby shower betrayal ends in federal charges. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. News outlets wanted interviews. Podcasters wanted me on their shows. One producer from a streaming service actually offered me money for the rights to my story. I turned them all down. This wasn't about fame or revenge porn or becoming some kind of social media hero. This was about protecting my daughter and making sure Michael faced consequences for what he'd done. Rachel stayed with me those first few days. She fielded calls, made sure I ate, held my hair back when the stress made me sick. My mother flew in from Florida and took over my kitchen, cooking enough food to feed an army, because that's what mothers do when they don't know how else to help. How are you feeling?
Rachel asked on Wednesday night.
We were sitting on my couch, surrounded by legal documents and half-empty cups of tea. Numb, I admitted. Is that weird? I should feel something, right? Angry or sad or something. But I just feel empty. You're in shock. You just blew up your entire life. He blew up my life. I just made sure he didn't get away with it. Rachel squeezed my hand. You know the internet thinks you're a hero, right? There are literally hashtags about you. Hashtag Emily Carter Revenge is trending. I groaned. That's not what I wanted. I know. But you struck a nerve, Em. How many women have been in your position? Pregnant, vulnerable, betrayed by someone they trusted? You did what most people only fantasize about. You fought back and won. Did I win? I looked around my empty house. Michael's things were still here, his books, his clothes, the expensive whiskey collection in his office. My marriage is over. My daughter's father is going to prison. I'm about to be a single mother with no job and a legal battle ahead of me. That doesn't feel like winning. You're alive. You're safe. And that bastard isn't going to hurt you anymore. That's winning. I wanted to believe her. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You've ruined everything. I hope you're happy. Vanessa.
Had to be.
I blocked the number without responding. Another text. Different number. Emily, please.
We need to talk.
I know I hurt you, but this has gone too far. Please don't let them take everything. Think about our daughter. I stared at the message for a long time. Think about our daughter. Like he'd thought about her when he was planning to divorce me and take everything. Like he'd thought about her when he was stealing millions and planning his escape with his mistress. Don't contact me again. All communication goes through my attorney. I blocked his number too. Good, Rachel said, reading over my shoulder. Don't let him manipulate you. That's what he does. He makes you feel like you're the crazy one, the unreasonable one. Don't fall for it. I won't. But part of me, the part that had loved him for 8 years, that had built a life with him, that was carrying his child, that part wavered. Wondered if I'd gone too far. If there was any way back from this. Then I remembered his face at the baby shower. The coldness in his eyes. The calculated cruelty of serving me divorce papers in front of 50 people.
No.
There was no going back. There never had been. Thursday brought a knock on my door at 6 a.m. I stumbled out of bed, Stumble being the operative word at 7 months pregnant, and peered through the peephole. Patricia, Michael's mother. I almost didn't open the door. What could she possibly have to say to me? Her son had tried to destroy me. Did she expect me to apologize? But curiosity won out. Mrs. Carter, I said, pulling my robe tighter. Emily, may I come in? I hesitated, then stepped aside. Patricia looked like she'd aged 10 years in 3 days. Her usually perfect hair was disheveled. Her makeup couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes. She was wearing jeans and a sweater. I'd never seen her in anything but designer suits and pearls. I know I'm probably the last person you want to see, she started. You're right. But I need you to hear me out.
Please.
Just 5 minutes. I gestured to the living room. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, an ocean of tension between us. I didn't know, Patricia said immediately. About the affair, about the embezzlement, about his plans to divorce you. I swear to you, Emily, I had no idea what my son had become. Okay. I know you don't believe me. I know I haven't always been warm to you. I thought you weren't good enough for Michael. I thought he'd married beneath him. She laughed bitterly. Turns out I had it backwards. You were always too good for him. I didn't know what to say to that. He called me from jail, Patricia continued, screaming, blaming you for everything, saying you'd destroyed him out of spite, that you'd fabricated evidence, that you were mentally unstable. My jaw tightened. Of course he did. And you know what I realized? He sounded exactly like his father. I blinked. What? Patricia's eyes filled with tears. Michael's father, my ex-husband, he was like this too.
Charming.
Successful. Completely self-centered. When things didn't go his way, everyone else was to blame. Never him. Never his choices, his actions, his cruelty. She pulled a tissue from her purse, dabbed at her eyes. I stayed with him for 15 years. Let him control everything. Our finances, our social life, how I dressed, who I talked to. I thought that was what marriage was supposed to be. And when he finally left me for his secretary, I blamed myself. Thought if I'd been better, prettier, more accommodating, he wouldn't have strayed.
Ed.
Mrs. Carter, it took me years of therapy to realize the truth.
He was always going to leave.
It was never about me not being enough. It was about him being fundamentally broken. And I raised Michael in that environment. I taught him by example that this was normal, that this was how men treated women. She looked at me, then really looked at me. I failed you, Emily. I failed my granddaughter. I saw the signs, the way he talked about you, the way he controlled your finances, your decisions. And I said nothing, because that's what I'd learned to do. Stay silent. Keep up appearances. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that I'm not going to defend him. I'm not going to bail him out or hire expensive attorneys or beg you to drop the charges. What he did was unforgivable, and he needs to face the consequences. I felt something shift in my chest. Not forgiveness, it was too soon for that. But maybe the beginning of understanding. I also want you to know that I'm setting up a trust fund for my granddaughter, Patricia continued. Whatever happens with Michael's assets, whatever the courts decide, she'll be taken care of. I'm putting in $2 million. It's hers. For college, for her future, for whatever she needs. Mrs. Carter, you don't have to. Yes, I do. It's the least I can do. And please call me Patricia. We're family, even if my son has forgotten what that means. She stood, pulling an envelope from her purse and setting it on the coffee table. My attorney's information is in there. He's drafting the trust documents. No strings attached, Emily. I'm not trying to buy visitation rights or control how you raise her. I just want to make sure she's secure. I stood too, my hand automatically going to my belly where my daughter was doing her morning gymnastics routine. Thank you, I managed. Patricia surprised me by pulling me into a hug. Not the stiff, obligatory embraces we'd exchanged at holiday dinners. Something real. Something that felt like an apology and a promise all at once. "You're strong," she whispered. "Stronger than I ever was. Don't let anyone, not Michael, not the media, not even yourself, make you feel guilty for protecting your child." Then she was gone, leaving me standing in my living room, crying for the first time since the baby shower. Not tears of grief or anger. Something else. Something that felt almost like hope. Don't forget to hit that like button. We're just getting to the good part. Michael's arraignment happened 2 weeks later. I wasn't required to be there, but I went anyway. Sat in the back of the courtroom in a black dress that accommodated my now 8-month belly, Rachel on one side and my attorney on the other. Michael was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit, his hands cuffed in front of him. His hair wasn't styled. He had stubble on his jaw. He looked smaller somehow. Diminished. Our eyes met across the courtroom. For a moment, I saw a flash of the man I'd married. The one who'd brought me coffee in bed on Sunday mornings. Who'd held my hand during scary movies. Who'd cried when I told him I was pregnant. Then he looked away, and the moment shattered. The charges were read: wire fraud, embezzlement, money laundering, falsifying financial documents. Each count carried a potential sentence of years in prison. The prosecutor was asking for 15 years total. 15 years. Our daughter would be in high school before Michael got out. His attorney, not Jennifer Hayes, who'd apparently quit the firm the day after the baby shower, entered a plea of not guilty. Requested bail. The prosecutor objected. Flight risk. Access to offshore accounts. Potential to flee the country. The judge agreed. No bail. Michael would remain in custody until trial. I watched as they led him away. He glanced back one more time, and I saw it then: real fear. Maybe even regret. Too late. Outside the courthouse, I was ambushed by reporters. "Mrs. Carter, how do you feel seeing your husband in custody? Do you regret exposing him? Are you concerned about raising your daughter alone?" "Emily, look this way." Rachel and my attorney formed a protective barrier, steering me toward the waiting car. "No comment," my attorney said firmly. "Mrs. Carter will not be making any statements at this time." But as we reached the car, I turned back. "Actually, I have something to say." My attorney's eyes widened. "Emily, I don't think. I need to do this." The reporters surged forward, microphones extended, cameras rolling. I took a breath. What my husband did, the embezzlement, the fraud, those are crimes. They hurt people. Real people. Clients who trusted him. A firm that gave him opportunities. And yes, a wife and daughter who believed in him. Cameras flashed. I kept going. But I want to be clear about something. I didn't expose Michael out of revenge. I did it because it was the right thing to do. Because financial crimes have victims. Because no one should be above the law just because they're charming or successful or good at hiding who they really are. "Do you regret marrying him?" someone shouted. I paused. Considered the question. I regret not seeing the truth sooner. I regret making excuses for behavior that should have raised red flags. But I don't regret my daughter. She's innocent in all of this. And she deserves better than growing up thinking it's okay for people to lie, steal, and hurt others without consequences. "What would you say to other women in similar situations?" another reporter asked. "Trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. And don't be afraid to protect yourself, even when it's hard. Even when it costs you everything you thought you wanted. Because living a lie is worse than facing a difficult truth." Rachel tugged my arm. We should go." I nodded, starting to turn away, then stopped. "And one more thing." I looked directly into the nearest camera. "Michael, if you're watching this, I hope you use your time in prison to become the man I thought you were. Not for me. For our daughter. Because someday, she's going to ask about you. And I want to be able to tell her that you learned, that you changed, that you tried to be better." I got in the car. Rachel slid in beside me, and we pulled away from the courthouse. "That was either really brave or really stupid," Rachel said. "Probably both." My phone was already blowing up with notifications. The video would be everywhere within an hour. Clips of pregnant wife confronts reporters would go viral. I'd be analyzed, criticized, praised, vilified. I turned off my phone. "You okay?" Rachel asked. "Ask me in 20 years. She laughed, then grew serious. "You know this is going to get worse before it gets better, right? The trial, the media attention, watching Michael's attorney try to destroy your credibility." "I know. And you're still going through with it?" I looked down at my belly, where my daughter was pressing against my ribs. She deserves to grow up in a world where the truth matters, where actions have consequences, where women don't have to smile and stay silent when men hurt them. Then we fight. Then we fight. The trial began 6 weeks later. I'd given birth by then. My daughter, Sophia Grace Carter, 7 pounds 3 ounces of perfect, squalling life, was 3 weeks old. She had my dark hair and Michael's blue eyes, and when she looked at me, I saw the future. Not the past. Not the pain. Just pure, uncomplicated possibility. I'd thought about keeping Michael off the birth certificate. Thought about protecting Sophia from the stigma of having a father in prison. But my attorney convinced me otherwise. He has rights, even if he's incarcerated. And more importantly, she has rights. To support. To his assets. Don't make decisions based on anger that might hurt her later. So Michael Carter was listed as the father. But when the hospital staff asked if he'd be visiting, I said no. He'd sent letters from jail.
Dozens of them.
I hadn't opened a single one. They sat in a box in my closet, waiting for the day Sophia was old enough to decide if she wanted to read them. The trial was everything Rachel had warned it would be. Brutal.
Public. Exhausting.
Michael's defense team, expensive attorneys his mother had hired despite her promise not to intervene, because maternal instinct apparently trumped everything else, tried to paint me as a vindictive woman who'd fabricated evidence out of spite. They brought up my forensic accounting background, suggested I'd used my skills to frame an innocent man. They questioned my mental stability, pointing to postpartum depression statistics as evidence I was unreliable. They even tried to suggest the baby wasn't Michael's, that I'd gotten pregnant by someone else and was using Michael as a convenient scapegoat. That one required a court-ordered paternity test, which of course proved Michael was Sophia's father. But the damage was done. The accusation was out there, in the public record, for everyone to see. I sat through it all, stone-faced, while my attorneys systematically destroyed their arguments. The evidence was overwhelming. Bank records, email trails, testimony from forensic accountants who'd verified my findings, witnesses from Henderson and Cross who described Michael's access to client accounts. Even Vanessa Hartley, who'd been granted immunity in exchange for her testimony, described conversations where Michael had bragged about his retirement fund. The prosecution's closing argument was devastating. Michael Carter is a man who believed the rules didn't apply to him. He stole from clients who trusted him. He betrayed a firm that had invested in his career. He planned to abandon his pregnant wife with nothing after convincing her to give up her own career to support his. The attorney paused, letting that sink in. But most damningly, when he was caught, his response wasn't remorse. It wasn't shame. It wasn't even honest denial. His response was to attack the woman who'd exposed him, to question her sanity, her credibility, her morality. Because in Michael Carter's world, the only crime is getting caught. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. I was at home when the verdict came through, feeding Sophia in the nursery we'd painted lavender. Rachel called me, crying. They got him, on everything. Every single count. I looked down at my daughter, her tiny hand wrapped around my finger, her eyes heavy with milk-drunk contentment. Good, I whispered. Sentencing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. The prosecution was asking for the maximum 15 years. Michael's attorneys were pleading for leniency, citing his previously clean record, his cooperation after conviction, his desire to be part of his daughter's life. I was asked if I wanted to make a victim impact statement. I said yes. The courtroom was packed for sentencing. I'd arranged for my mother to watch Sophia. This wasn't something my daughter needed to see, even as a 5-week-old who wouldn't remember. Some things should be kept separate. I wore navy blue. Professional. Serious. I'd styled my hair, done my makeup, made sure I looked composed.
Strong.
Inside, I was terrified. Victim impact statements are powerful. They can influence sentencing. They can make the difference between minimum and maximum punishment. And I knew that whatever I said today would define how Michael spent the next decade or more of his life. How Sophia would know her father. How this story would end. The weight of that responsibility was crushing. The court recognizes Emily Carter, the judge said. I stood, smoothing my dress, walked to the podium. The room fell silent. Michael was at the defendant's table, his attorneys on either side. He looked at me, and I saw it all there. Fear, regret, anger, desperation. For a moment, I wavered. This man had been my husband, the father of my child. Whatever else he'd done, we'd shared years of life together. Good memories mixed with the bad. Then I remembered the baby shower, the coldness in his eyes, the calculated cruelty. I began to read. Your Honor, my name is Emily Carter, and I am here today to speak about the impact Michael Carter's actions have had on my life and my daughter's life. My voice was steady.
Clear.
I'd practiced this speech 100 times. When I married Michael 8 years ago, I thought I was marrying my best friend. Someone who valued honesty, integrity, hard work. Someone who would build a life with me based on trust and mutual respect. I paused, gathering strength. Instead, I married someone who saw me as a tool to be used. My career, which I gave up at his request, became an inconvenience. My trust became something to exploit. My love became a weapon he used to control me. Michael's head dropped. His attorney put a hand on his shoulder. Michael didn't just steal money from his firm. He didn't just commit financial crimes that hurt clients and colleagues. He stole years of my life. He stole my sense of security. He stole my ability to trust my own judgment. I looked directly at him now. He planned to destroy me at my most vulnerable moment, pregnant, dependent, believing in the future we'd planned together. He calculated exactly how to leave me with nothing, how to time his departure for maximum damage to me and minimum consequence to him. A tear rolled down Michael's cheek. I felt nothing. But worst of all, he was willing to abandon his daughter before she was even born, to question her paternity, to treat her as an inconvenience rather than a precious life he'd helped create. I pulled out a photo from my folder, a picture of Sophia, taken yesterday, her blue eyes, Michael's eyes, staring at the camera with infant curiosity. This is Sophia Grace Carter. She's 5 weeks old. She has her father's eyes and his smile. She deserves to know her father. But the father she deserves isn't the man sitting at that table. The courtroom was silent except for muffled crying from somewhere in the gallery. Your Honor, I'm not here to ask for maximum sentencing out of revenge. I'm here because actions must have consequences. Because the message we send today matters. It matters to other women who might be in the position I was in. It matters to future clients who trust their attorneys. It matters to my daughter, who will someday ask why her father isn't in her life. I took a breath. Michael Carter is intelligent, charming, and capable of great things. But he's also manipulative, self-centered, and willing to hurt anyone who stands in the way of what he wants. He needs time, significant time, to understand the magnitude of what he's done, to become someone worthy of being Sophia's father. I looked at the judge. I ask that you impose a sentence that reflects the seriousness of his crimes. Not because I want him to suffer, but because my daughter deserves better. Because victims of financial crimes deserve justice. And because sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is hold them accountable. I folded my papers,
Started to walk back to my seat.
then stopped. Turned back to Michael. I loved you, I said softly. That wasn't a lie. Whatever you think, whatever narrative you've created where I'm the villain, I loved you. I would have stood by you through anything if you'd just been honest with me. His eyes met mine, red and swollen. But you chose to lie. You chose to steal. You chose cruelty. And now you have to live with those choices. All I can do is make sure our daughter doesn't suffer for them. I returned to my seat. Rachel squeezed my hand. My attorney nodded approvingly. The judge called for a brief recess. 15 minutes later, we returned. Mr. Carter, please rise. Michael stood, his legs shaking. Having considered the evidence, the jury's verdict, the prosecution's recommendations, and Mrs. Carter's statement, this court sentences you to 12 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. You will be required to pay full restitution to Henderson and Cross and affected clients, plus substantial fines. You will also pay child support for your daughter according to state guidelines, to be deducted from any remaining assets or future earnings. 12 years. 3 years less than the maximum, but still more than a decade. Sophia would be in middle school before Michael was released. Do you have anything to say, Mr. Carter? The judge asked. Michael looked at me, opened his mouth, closed it. Then, finally, I'm sorry. To Emily, to Sophia, to everyone I hurt.
I'm sorry.
It wasn't enough. It could never be enough. But it was something. The bailiffs led him away. He looked back one more time, and I saw the man I'd married, broken, devastated, finally understanding what he'd lost. I felt Rachel's arm around me, heard her whisper, "It's over. It's finally over." But it wasn't over. Not really. It was just beginning. Sophia turned 3 on a crisp October afternoon. We celebrated in the backyard of our new house, smaller than the one I'd share with Michael, but ours. Bought with money from Patricia's trust fund and my new job at a financial consulting firm that valued my forensic accounting skills. Rachel was there, of course, along with her new girlfriend Maya. My mother and sister flew in from Florida and Seattle. Even Patricia came, bearing an enormous stuffed unicorn that was bigger than Sophia herself. "Happy birthday, sweet girl," Patricia said, kneeling down to Sophia's level. "Do you like your unicorn?" "I love it, Grandma." Sophia threw her arms around Patricia's neck. I watched them, feeling that familiar twist of complicated emotions. Patricia had become a fixture in our lives, visiting every month, calling weekly, being the grandmother I'd once thought she'd never be. Our relationship would never be simple, but it was real. Honest. Better than before. "Mama, can we have cake now?" Sophia tugged on my hand, her blue eyes, Michael's eyes, bright with excitement. "After lunch, baby. We have to eat real food first." "But I am eating real food." She held up a half-eaten carrot stick. "See." I laughed, lifting her into my arms. "You're right. You're eating like a big girl." My phone buzzed. A notification from the prison system. "You have received a video message from inmate Michael Carter." Michael had been sending video messages for the past year, the prison's new program for maintaining family connections. At first, I deleted them without watching. Then slowly I'd started to look. They weren't apologies anymore. They were updates. Attempts at connection. In the latest one, he told Sophia, because I'd started letting her watch some of them, the appropriate ones, about the GED program he was teaching other inmates, about the counseling groups he attended, about the person he was trying to become. "Everything okay?" Rachel appeared at my elbow. Michael sent a birthday message for Sophia. "Are you going to show her?" I looked down at my daughter, now squirming to get free and join the other kids playing in the yard. "Later. After the party. She can decide if she wants to watch it." Because that was the thing I'd learned in 3 years of single motherhood, therapy, and rebuilding my life from the rubble Michael had left behind. I couldn't control everything. I couldn't protect Sophia from every truth, every hurt, every complicated reality of who her father was. All I could do was give her choices, information, support. and let her decide who she wanted to be. You've come a long way, Rachel said softly. You know that, right? We both have. I bumped her shoulder. Remember when you were dating that guy who wouldn't let you order your own drinks? God, don't remind me. I have much better taste now. She grinned at Maya, who was unsuccessfully trying to pin a tail on a cartoon donkey while blindfolded. You do. I squeezed her hand. Thank you, Ratch. For everything. I couldn't have survived this without you.
Please.
You would have been fine. You're the strongest person I know. I didn't feel strong. Most days, I felt exhausted, overwhelmed, uncertain. But I was here. I was standing. I was building a life for my daughter and myself. Maybe that was what strength actually was. Not some grand, dramatic gesture. Just showing up day after day and doing the work. That evening, after the guests had left and Sophia was in her pajamas, stuffed unicorn clutched to her chest, I pulled up Michael's message. Do you want to watch Daddy's video? I asked. He sent you a birthday message. Sophia nodded seriously. Yes, please. I hit play. Michael appeared on screen. He looked different, older, thinner, with gray at his temples that hadn't been there before. But his eyes were clearer somehow, less guarded. Hi, Sophia, he said, smiling. Happy third birthday, sweetheart. I wish I could be there to celebrate with you, but I wanted to send you this message to tell you how much I love you. Sophia watched, transfixed. You're getting so big. Your grandma shows me pictures every time she visits, and I can't believe you're already 3 years old. I bet you're having the best party ever, with lots of cake and presents and fun. He paused, and something shifted in his expression. I also wanted to tell you that I'm sorry. I know you're too young to really understand what that means right now, but someday you'll be old enough to ask questions about where I am and why I'm not there with you. And when that day comes, I want you to know that I made some very bad choices. I hurt people, including your mom, and I'm in here because I'm facing the consequences of those choices. Sophia looked up at me, confused. What does consequences mean? It means when you do something wrong, there are results. Like when you hit Maya's little brother yesterday, and you had to sit in timeout. That was a consequence. Oh. She turned back to the screen. But I'm trying to be better, Michael continued. I'm learning and growing and working hard to become the kind of dad you deserve. It's going to take time, a lot of time. But I hope that when I do get to see you again, you'll give me a chance to be part of your life. Not because you have to, but because you want to. He leaned closer to the camera. I love you, Sophia Grace. I've loved you since before you were born. And even though I can't be there right now, I'm thinking about you every single day. Happy birthday, sweetheart. The video ended. Sophia was quiet for a moment. Then, Mama, why did Daddy do bad things?
God.
3 years old, and already asking the impossible questions. Sometimes people make choices that hurt others, I said carefully. Even people who love us. Your daddy made choices that hurt a lot of people, so he has to stay where he is for a while as his consequence. But he said he's trying to be better.
He is.
And that's good. But it takes time to fix the things he broke. Like when I broke your favorite cup and I said sorry and helped you clean it up, my heart squeezed. Sort of like that, yes. Sophia considered this, her little face scrunched up in concentration. Do you think Daddy will be better when he comes home? I don't know, baby. I hope so. But we can't control what other people do. We can only control ourselves. Like how I can only control if I clean my room or not, even if I want you to do it. I laughed through sudden tears. Exactly like that. She nodded, apparently satisfied. Okay. Can we watch cartoons now?
Yes.
We can watch cartoons. As she settled into my lap, her unicorn tucked beside us, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness. I wasn't sure I'd ever fully forgive Michael for what he'd done. But maybe acceptance. Understanding that people were complicated. That the man who tried to destroy me and the man trying to be a better father to our daughter could somehow be the same person. And that I didn't have to have all the answers. I just had to keep showing up. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because the truth is, we all face moments where we have to choose between staying silent or speaking up. Between accepting cruelty or demanding better. 5 years after the baby shower, I was standing in front of a room full of women at a domestic violence prevention conference. My hands were shaking, they always did before I spoke, but my voice was steady. The moment I decided to fight back wasn't when I found the emails. I told them. It wasn't even when Michael handed me those divorce papers. It was when I looked at my daughter's ultrasound picture and realized she was watching. Not literally, she wasn't born yet. But someday, she would know this story. Someday, she would ask questions. And I had to decide what kind of woman I wanted her to see when she looked at me. The audience was silent, hanging on every word. I could have been the woman who accepted betrayal with quiet dignity, who let her husband take everything because fighting back was too hard, too messy, too unladylike. I could have been the cautionary tale, the woman who stayed silent to keep the peace, who sacrificed herself on the altar of appearances. I paused, letting my eyes scan the room. I saw myself in so many of these faces. The fear, the uncertainty, the desperate hope that someone would tell them it was okay to fight back. Or I could be the woman who said enough, who gathered evidence, who stood up in front of everyone and said, "This is what happened to me, and I will not be silent about it." A woman in the third row was crying quietly. I knew that look. She was living it right now. Here's what they don't tell you about standing up for yourself. I continued. It's not pretty. It's not empowering in the moment. It's terrifying and messy, and people will judge you. They'll say you were vindictive, that you went too far, that you should have handled it privately. I smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. They'll say all of that while completely ignoring that someone was actively trying to destroy you. That's the world we live in. Women are expected to absorb violence, physical, emotional, financial, with grace and silence. But the moment we defend ourselves, we're suddenly the villains. Heads nodded throughout the room. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that what I did was easy or that everything worked out perfectly. My daughter is 5 years old, and she has to visit her father in prison. I spent 2 years in therapy unpacking the trauma of betrayal. I lost friends who thought I was too aggressive, too angry, too extra about the whole thing. I took a breath. But I also gained something invaluable. I gained my self-respect back. I showed my daughter that women don't have to accept cruelty just because it comes from someone who claims to love them. And I learned that my voice, my truth, my pain, they all matter. They matter enough to fight for. The woman in the third row raised her hand tentatively. Yes, she stood, her voice shaking. How did you know it was the right time to act? I've been in a situation, and I keep waiting for the perfect moment to leave, but there's always a reason to stay. The kids, the money, what people will think. I walked closer to her, off the stage, breaking the formal barrier between speaker and audience. Can I ask you something? She nodded. If your daughter, or your son, or your niece, or any young person you love, came to you in 5 years and told you they were in the exact situation you're in right now, what would you tell them to do? Her eyes filled with tears. I'd tell them to leave, to run. Then why are you worth less than they are? The question hung in the air. She sat down, sobbing. The woman next to her put an arm around her shoulders. There's never a perfect time, I said, addressing the whole room now. There's never a moment where it's convenient or easy or where everyone will understand and support you. But there's a moment when you decide that your life, your actual life, not the performance of a life, matters more than comfort or appearances or what other people think. I walked back to the stage, pulling up a slide on the screen behind me. This is my daughter, Sophia. The photo showed a bright-eyed 5-year-old in a karate uniform, mid-kick, her face fierce and determined. She takes karate. She's learning that she has power in her body, in her voice. She's learning that when someone tries to hurt her, she doesn't freeze. She fights back. Not with violence, but with boundaries. With saying no. With walking away from situations that don't serve her. I clicked to the next slide. A photo of me and Sophia in our kitchen, making cookies, flour everywhere, both of us laughing. She's also learning that joy exists after pain. That you can rebuild. That the end of one story is just the beginning of another. Another click. A screenshot of a news article. Henderson and Cross implements new financial oversight policies following Carter embezzlement case. Michael's crimes led to industry-wide changes. Law firms across the country implemented new safeguards, better oversight, stronger protections for client funds. His actions were terrible, but the consequences rippled outward in ways that will protect future clients. That matters. Final click. An email from Michael, recent. Emily, I know I have no right to ask anything of you, but I wanted you to know that I'm teaching a class here, helping other inmates understand the impact of financial crimes on families. Sharing my story so maybe someone else will make better choices than I did. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I hope someday Sophia will understand that her father was broken, but he's trying to heal. That what I did was unforgivable, but I'm working every day to be someone worthy of her love. Thank you for letting me send her messages. For letting me be part of her life. Even from here. You didn't have to do that. You could have shut me out completely. The fact that you haven't, it's more grace than I deserve. I looked at the audience. I didn't share that because Michael deserves praise. He doesn't. He's serving 12 years for crimes he committed. But I share it because transformation is possible. Not redemption. That's not mine to give.
But change. Growth.
The possibility that people can become better than they were. I paused. And, maybe more importantly, I share it because I chose this. I chose to let him send messages to Sophia. I chose to allow supervised visits when he's eventually released. Not because I forgive him. Not because I've forgotten what he did. But because I decided that my daughter deserves the chance to know her father, and I refuse to be the barrier to that. A hand shot up in the back. But how do you protect her? How do you let someone who hurt you so badly have access to your child? Boundaries, I said simply. Therapy. Supervised visits. Age-appropriate honesty. I don't lie to Sophia about who her father is or what he did. But I also don't poison her against him. I give her facts and let her form her own opinions. I smiled. Last week, she asked me if Daddy was a bad man. And I told her, Daddy made very bad choices. But people are more complicated than just good or bad. He's someone who did terrible things and who is trying to be better. You can love parts of someone while still understanding they hurt people. What did she say? She said, like how I love Uncle Bobby, even though he's really annoying sometimes. The room erupted in laughter. So yeah, 5-year-old wisdom. We're all just complicated people trying our best. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're almost done, and you need to hear how this really ends. After the conference, I sat in my hotel room, exhausted but energized. My phone was filled with messages from women who'd attended the talk. Stories of their own betrayals, their own fights, their own victories. One message stood out. Mrs. Carter, you don't know me, but I was at your husband's baby shower. I was one of the guests. I watched him hand you those papers. I watched you destroy him. And I want you to know, you saved my life. I was in an abusive marriage. Had been for 6 years. I kept telling myself it wasn't that bad, that I was overreacting, that I should be grateful he didn't hit me. Emotional and financial abuse weren't real abuse, I told myself. But watching you stand up in that moment, watching you refuse to be broken, watching you fight back, it woke something up in me. If you could do it while 7 months pregnant in front of 50 people, I could leave my husband in the privacy of my own home. I filed for divorce 3 months after your baby shower. It's been hell. My family doesn't understand. His family says I'm destroying him. But I'm free. For the first time in 6 years, I'm free. Thank you for being brave when I wasn't yet. Thank you for showing me what fighting back looks like. You quite literally saved my life. I read the message 3 times, tears streaming down my face. This was why I spoke at conferences. Why I shared my story despite the judgment, despite the trolls on social media who called me a gold digger or a vengeful bitch, despite the lingering pain of reliving my worst moments. Because somewhere out there, women were watching, learning, gathering courage. And if my pain could be transformed into someone else's freedom, then it was worth it. 6 months later. Mama, can we visit Daddy soon? Sophia was coloring at the kitchen table, working on a picture of a rainbow unicorn, her current obsession. We can, I said carefully. His next visitation is in 2 weeks. Do you want to go? She nodded seriously. I want to show him my report card. I got all good marks. You did. I'm very proud of you. Do you think Daddy will be proud? The question hit me square in the chest. Even after 5 years, even with all the therapy and healing and growth, moments like this still hurt. I know he will be, I said honestly. He loves you very much, Sophia. But he did bad things. He did. Can people who do bad things still love people? I set down my coffee mug and sat beside her. Yes. People are complicated. Your daddy loves you more than anything. But he also made choices that hurt people, including you and me. Both things can be true at the same time. She absorbed this, her little brow furrowed in concentration. When I grow up, I want to make good choices. That's all any of us can do, baby. Make the best choices we can. But what if I make bad choices? Then you learn from them. You apologize to people you hurt. You try to be better. That's what growing up is, learning and trying and sometimes messing up, but always working to be better than you were yesterday. She seemed satisfied with that answer, returning to her unicorn. My phone rang. An unknown number. Hello. Mrs. Carter? This is Sandra Williams from the Illinois State Bar Association. I'm calling about a matter that's just come to our attention. My stomach dropped. What now? We've been contacted by Henderson and Cross. They wanted to inform you that they've recovered additional funds from your ex-husband's offshore accounts. After restitution to victims and payment of fines, there's a substantial surplus, approximately $800,000. I sat down heavily. I don't understand. As Mr. Carter's ex-wife and the mother of his child, you're entitled to a portion of these recovered assets for child support purposes. The firm wanted to make sure you were aware and could consult with your attorney about the distribution. $800,000. Money that Michael had stolen, that had been recovered, that would go to Sophia's future. Mrs. Carter? I'm here. I need to process this. Of course. We'll send the official documentation to your attorney. But we wanted to give you a heads up. After she hung up, I sat in my kitchen, staring at nothing. That money could pay for Sophia's college, could set up a real trust fund, separate from Patricia's, could give my daughter opportunities I'd only dreamed of. But it was also blood money, stolen from people who'd trusted Michael, who'd been victims of his crimes. Mama? Are you okay? Sophia was watching me with those too perceptive blue eyes. I'm okay, baby. Just thinking. About what? About choices. And consequences. And how sometimes life gives you complicated gifts. She nodded like this made perfect sense. Like when Grandma gives me vegetables that taste yucky, but are good for me? I laughed despite myself. Exactly like that. That evening, after Sophia was in bed, I called Rachel. They found money, I said without preamble. Michael's money? $800,000. Recovered from offshore accounts. They're saying Sophia is entitled to a portion for child support. Rachel whistled low.
Damn.
That's life-changing money, Em. I know. So, why don't you sound happy? Because it feels wrong. That money was stolen from people. Real people who had real losses. And those people have already been compensated through restitution. This is surplus. Money that would otherwise go to government coffers. You're not taking anything from victims, Em. This is legally yours, or rather, Sophia's. I know that. Logically, I know that. But emotionally, you feel like accepting it makes you complicit somehow. Like you're benefiting from Michael's crimes. Yes. Rachel was quiet for a moment. Can I tell you something? Always. You've spent 5 years defining yourself in opposition to what Michael did. You're the victim who fought back. The woman who exposed crimes. The mother protecting her daughter. All of that is true. But maybe it's time to also be the woman who accepts that life is messy and complicated, and sometimes good things come from bad situations. I don't know if I can do that. Yes, you can. Because you've already been doing it. You let Michael send messages to Sophia even though he doesn't deserve that access. You allowed Patricia back into your life even though she raised the man who tried to destroy you. You've been accepting complicated gifts all along, Em. This is just one more. She had a point. Think about it this way, Rachel continued. That money can't undo what Michael did. But it can give Sophia opportunities. It can secure her future. It can be transformed from something dirty into something clean. Isn't that kind of beautiful? Taking what was meant for harm and using it for good. When did you become so wise? I've always been wise. You were just too stubborn to notice. I laughed. Fair point. So, what are you going to do? I thought about Sophia's report card on the refrigerator. Her karate trophies lined up on her bookshelf. Her drawing of our family, her, me, Rachel, Grandma Patricia, even Michael, though he was drawn smaller and off to the side. I'm going to accept it, I said finally, for Sophia. And I'm going to make damn sure it's used to give her every opportunity in the world. So she never has to depend on anyone else for her security. So she never has to stay in a bad situation because she can't afford to leave. That's my girl. 2 years later, I stood in the prison visiting room, watching Sophia and Michael play checkers at a scarred plastic table. 7 years old now, Sophia had lost her baby face, growing into a thoughtful, strong-willed girl who asked impossible questions and didn't accept easy answers. She visited her father once a month, her choice, not mine. Some months she was excited, chattering the whole drive there. Other months she was quiet, uncertain. Today was a chatty day. I got accepted into the gifted program at school, she told Michael proudly. Mama says I'm really good at math. That's amazing, sweetheart. Michael's face lit up. He looked so different from the man I'd married. Prison had aged him, carved lines into his face, added gray to his hair. But his eyes, when he looked at our daughter, held something I'd never seen before. Humility, gratitude, real, genuine love that wasn't about what he could get, but what he could give. Mama's been helping me with fractions. They're hard, but I'm getting better. Your mom is brilliant. You're lucky to have her. Sophia nodded matter-of-factly. I know. She's the best mama in the whole world. Michael's eyes met mine across the room. We'd reached an uneasy peace over the years. Not friendship, not forgiveness, but a working relationship built on one simple foundation. Both of us loved Sophia and wanted what was best for her. She really is, Michael said quietly. After the visit, as we drove home, Sophia was uncharacteristically quiet. What's on your mind, baby? I asked. Daddy looks sad.
He is sad sometimes.
Prison is hard. Did he have to go to prison? We'd had versions of this conversation before, but she was older now. Old enough for more truth.
Yes. He broke the law. He stole money and lied about it.
So he has to face consequences. But he's sorry. I know he is. And that matters. But being sorry doesn't erase what happened. It just means he understands that what he did was wrong and he wishes he could change it. Sophia processed this. When he gets out, will he come live with us?
No, baby.
Your daddy and I aren't married anymore. We won't live together again. But he can still visit? If you want him to, and if he's made good choices after he gets out, yes. He can visit. I think I want him to. He's getting better at being a dad. My heart clenched.
He is.
He really is. Do you think you'll ever forgive him, Mama? The question I'd been avoiding for 7 years. I don't know, I said honestly. Forgiveness is complicated. But I'll tell you what I have done. I've let go of the anger. I've stopped letting what he did define my whole life. I've built something new and beautiful, and he's not at the center of it anymore. Maybe that's better than forgiveness. Maybe that's freedom. Sophia considered this with her usual seriousness. Then, I think you're really brave, Mama. Why is that? Because Daddy hurt you really bad, but you still let me see him. You could have said no, but you didn't. That's brave. Tears blurred my vision. I pulled over into a parking lot because I couldn't see the road anymore. Come here, I said, unbuckling both our seatbelts and pulling her into my lap. Are you crying? She touched my wet cheek. Happy tears. Because you're right. It was hard to let you see him. But I did it because I love you more than I hate him. And that's the most important thing I can teach you. That love is always stronger than hate. Always. She hugged me tight. I love you, Mama. I love you too, baby girl. More than all the stars in the sky. 10 years after the baby shower. I sat in my office, my own office, in the consulting firm I'd co-founded with 2 other women, reviewing a case that reminded me painfully of my own story. A woman whose husband had been embezzling from his company. A woman who'd discovered it and now didn't know what to do. A woman terrified of destroying her family, but equally terrified of staying silent. I picked up the phone. Mrs. Rodriguez? This is Emily Carter. I reviewed your case file. I'd like to meet with you if you're willing. I think I can help. Because this was what I did now. I helped women like me. Women who discovered financial abuse, fraud, betrayal. Women who needed someone who understood not just the forensic accounting, but the emotional devastation, the impossible choices, the fear and anger and grief all tangled together. I couldn't save everyone, but I could offer the thing I desperately needed 10 years ago, proof that survival was possible, that you could walk through fire and come out stronger on the other side. My office door opened. Sophia poked her head in, 12 years old now, all long legs and attitude, looking more like Michael every day, but with my stubborn determination. Mom, can Taylor come over for dinner?
Sure.
Tell her 6 o'clock. Thanks. She started to leave, then paused. Hey, Mom. Yeah. I'm doing a project for school. About people who inspire us. Can I interview you? My throat tightened. Me? Why me? She rolled her eyes in that universal 12-year-old way. Because you're literally the bravest person I know. You left a bad situation, started your own company, help other women, and raised me by yourself. Pretty inspiring, if you ask me. I didn't do it by myself. Aunt Rachel helped. Grandma Patricia helped. Mom. She gave me a look. Just take the compliment. I laughed. Okay. Yes, you can interview me.
Cool.
Love you. She disappeared down the hallway. I sat back in my chair, staring at the framed photo on my desk. Me and Sophia, taken last month at her karate tournament. She'd won first place in her division. The photo captured her holding her trophy, her face fierce and proud, while I stood beside her with an expression of pure maternal pride. This was the life I'd built from the ashes of the one Michael tried to burn down. It wasn't perfect. I still had hard days, moments when the betrayal felt fresh and raw. Moments when I questioned every decision I'd made. Moments when I wondered if I'd done the right thing, gone too far, not gone far enough. But then I'd look at Sophia, strong, confident, unafraid, and I'd know I'd done exactly what needed to be done. That night, I gave a video interview for a podcast about women's empowerment. The host asked the question everyone always asked. Looking back, do you regret how you handled things? Would you do anything differently? I thought about it, really thought about it. I regret that it had to happen at all. I said finally. I regret marrying someone who turned out to be capable of such cruelty. I regret that my daughter has a father in prison instead of a father in her daily life. I paused. But do I regret fighting back? Do I regret exposing the truth? Do I regret refusing to be a victim? Not for a single second. What would you say to women who are in similar situations right now? Women who are scared to leave, scared to fight back, scared of what it will cost them. I looked directly into the camera. I would say this: the cost of staying is always higher than the cost of leaving. Always. You might lose money, lose comfort, lose the approval of people who don't understand. But if you stay, you lose yourself. You lose your self-respect. You lose the ability to look your children in the eye and tell them that they deserve to be treated with dignity. I leaned forward. And I would say, you are stronger than you think. You are braver than you know. And there are women out there, women like me, who've walked through the fire, who are ready to help you. You are not alone. You are never alone. The interview ended. I turned off my computer and headed downstairs, where Sophia was helping me make dinner. "Mom, can I ask you something?" she said as we chopped vegetables. "Of course." "Do you think Daddy loves me?" My hands stilled. "I know he does. He made terrible choices, but his love for you has always been real." "How do you know? How can love be real if someone does bad things?" I set down my knife and turned to face her fully. This was important. This might be the most important conversation we'd ever had. "Love and behavior are two different things," I said carefully. "Your father loves you deeply. But love doesn't excuse harmful behavior. Love doesn't mean you accept cruelty or betrayal. You can love someone and still hold them accountable. You can love someone and still protect yourself from them." "Is that what you did?" "Yes. I loved your father, or at least I loved who I thought he was. But I loved myself and you more. And I knew that real love, healthy love, doesn't ask you to destroy yourself to make someone else comfortable." Sophia nodded slowly. "I think I get it. Like how I loved Taylor, but I told her I couldn't be friends with her anymore when she kept saying mean things about other girls." Exactly like that. You can love someone and still say, your behavior is not okay and I won't accept it. That's a good rule. It is. And it's one I wish someone had taught me when I was younger. But I'm teaching it to you now. So, you never have to learn it the hard way like I did. We finished making dinner in comfortable silence. And as I watched my daughter, confident, strong, unafraid to set boundaries, I realized something profound. I hadn't just survived Michael's betrayal. I'd transformed it into something meaningful. Every woman I helped at work, every speech I gave, every time I shared my story and saw recognition in someone's eyes, that was me taking what was meant to break me and using it to build something stronger. Michael had tried to destroy me at my baby shower. Instead, he'd given birth to a woman who refused to be destroyed. This is where you hit that subscribe button. Because this isn't just my story, it's the story of every woman who's ever had to choose between staying silent and speaking truth. Every woman who's been told to smile through betrayal and decided to roar instead. And if my story gave you courage, if it made you think differently about your own situation, if it reminded you that you're stronger than whatever you're facing, then this was worth it. Every painful moment, every hard choice, every tear and triumph. Because the most powerful thing I learned through all of this is simple. Your truth matters. Your pain matters. Your voice matters. And no one, no husband, no boss, no friend, no family member has the right to silence it. The conference room was packed with law students. I'd been invited to speak at Northwestern Law School, Ironically, Michael's alma mater, about forensic accounting in fraud cases. But the students didn't want to hear about accounting. They wanted to hear the story. "Is it true you exposed your husband in front of 50 people?" one brave student asked. I smiled. "It is." "And you'd really gathered evidence for weeks before that?" I had. Though I don't recommend that approach for everyone. Every situation is different. What worked for me might be completely wrong for someone else. "But you don't regret it?" I looked out at the sea of young faces. Some of them would become honest attorneys. Some might take paths like Michael had. All of them needed to understand something fundamental. "I regret that it was necessary," I said. "But no, I don't regret defending myself and my daughter. And here's what I want you to understand, as future lawyers. Your actions have consequences beyond courtrooms. The clients who trust you, the families who depend on you, the people whose lives you touch, they all deserve your integrity. Not because it's required by law, but because it's required by basic human decency." A young woman in the front row raised her hand. "Where is your ex-husband now?" "He was released from prison 3 years ago. He's working as a paralegal. He can't practice law anymore, obviously. He has supervised visits with our daughter. And from what I understand, he's genuinely trying to rebuild his life." "Do you ever talk to him?" "Only about our daughter. We're civil, cordial, even. But we're not friends. We're two people who share a child and a painful history, doing our best to co-parent despite everything." "And your daughter? How did all of this affect her?" I pulled out my phone, showing them a recent photo. Sophia at 17, in her college acceptance letter photo shoot, heading to Stanford in the fall on a full academic scholarship. That's her. She's brilliant, strong, and remarkably well-adjusted considering everything. She knows the whole story. I've never hidden anything from her. And she's used it to become someone who won't tolerate dishonesty or manipulation in any form. She's going to study law, actually. She wants to be a prosecutor specializing in financial crimes. The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room. She told me once that she wants to help put away people like her father used to be. I continued. Not because she hates him, she doesn't, but because she believes in accountability, in consequences, in the idea that justice matters. I looked around the room one more time. That's my legacy. Not the viral story or the headlines or the podcast episodes. My legacy is a daughter who understands that people can change, but that doesn't erase what they did. Who knows that forgiveness is personal, but justice is necessary. Who will walk into courtrooms and fight for victims because she understands intimately what it means to be one. The applause started slow, then built. These students, future lawyers, future judges, future defenders, and prosecutors, they understood. After the talk, a young woman approached me. She couldn't have been more than 22. "Mrs. Carter? Thank you for sharing your story. I'm in a situation right now with my boyfriend. He's not stealing money or anything, but he's controlling. And everyone tells me I'm overreacting, that I'm lucky to have someone so invested in my life. But it doesn't feel lucky. It feels suffocating. I'd heard variations of this story 1,000 times. What does your gut tell you?" I asked. "That I need to leave. But I'm scared." Good. Being scared means you're taking it seriously. But here's what I've learned. Fear is information, not instruction. It tells you there's danger. It doesn't tell you to stay frozen. Use that fear to plan, to prepare, to protect yourself. But don't let it trap you. Her eyes filled with tears. How do you do it? How do you leave? One step at a time. One day at a time. You gather your resources, financial, emotional, social. You tell people you trust. You make a plan. And then, when you're ready, you walk out the door and you don't look back. Just like that. Just like that. And it will be the hardest thing you've ever done. But I promise you, I absolutely promise you, it will also be the most freeing thing you've ever done. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Thank you. You're going to be okay, I told her. You're already asking the right questions. That's the first step. As I watched her walk away, I thought about that woman I used to be, the one standing at her baby shower, divorce papers scattered at her feet, her world crumbling. That woman had no idea what she was capable of.
But I know now.
She was capable of everything. If you made it this far, hit that subscribe button. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Because somewhere out there, there's a woman standing at her own metaphorical baby shower, watching her life fall apart. And she needs to know that survival is possible, that justice is possible, that building a new life from the ashes of the old one is not just possible, it's exactly what she's meant to do. This is Emily Carter, signing off. Not as a victim, not as someone's ex-wife, but as a woman who learned that the most powerful weapon you have is the truth, and the courage to speak it out loud.